Well, hopefully you all got your penicillin boosters because we're about to get under the covers with Pagan yet again. We're going through a series of cover songs by Pagan. They've been really fun to do so far. And I'm not ashamed to say that of these so far, I've liked all of them quite a bit. This song, "Let's Go" by Dimebag Darrell, at this point, going through the canon of the covers that have been done, is my favorite one so far of all the
Nice.
covers. So they've all been great, but this one has moved to the top for me on that. So I'm looking forward to quizzing the gentleman behind it all, Mike Bilinski of Pagan, and I'm gonna pepper him with hard hitting questions, and we'll like we do on Under the Covers with Pagan. So let's start off. This is "Let's Go" by Dimebag Darrell. Why did you pick this song, Mike?
So I mean, I grew up listening to Pantera. For anybody who doesn't know, Dimebag was the lead guitarist for the band Pantera. In the 80s, they were like a glam band, not Motley Crue glam, more like Kiss and early Van Halen glam kind of thing. But slowly their music started to get heavier and heavier. Eventually, they phased out their original singer, who had more of that Van Halen Kiss kind of approach to his vocals, in favor of more of a metal singer and a guy named Phil Anselmo, who's pretty infamous now. Eventually, they became extremely commercially successful in the 90s and then broke up, as bands do sometimes when they become extremely successful. And then, unfortunately, after making an incredible album with David Allan Coe as his backing band without Phil Anselmo, the other members of Pantera were David Allan Coe's backing band. Awesome record. Um, Dimebag was and his brother, who was the drummer of Pantera, started a new band called Damage Plan, and they were playing a smaller venue than Pantera would have played. And someone got past security with a gun and shot him while he was on stage during a show. So he is dead now. That was effectively the end of Pantera, any chance of them getting back together. And then his brother died a while after that. But a version of Pantera has once again risen up, with obviously a different guitar player and drummer, Zach Wild, who is famous for being Ozzy Osbourne's guitar player and was close friends with Dimebag, filling in for him, and the drummer of Anthrax on drums. I haven't seen them live. I've heard the shows are really good though. It hasn't been without controversy. Some fans don't accept that. And of course, Phil Anselmo has been canceled over and over again. So it is what it is. During all of this time, though, Dimebag occasionally would slip out little solo songs on different things, like videos and different things like that. And eventually, those were posthumously collected together into a solo record, although they had all appeared on different things. And this was my favorite song in there. It's a minute long, sort of punk metal kind of song. And again, it was one of those things in the back of my mind, like I should cover this one day. So seems like a good time with this project.
Very good. So the players on here, so we have Mike, of course, with his instrument of choice, the Aztec death whistle. He's handling that again. Wassim Rahmani again on guitar. We've talked about him on a couple of the past. So he's been a pretty steady presence. A man who suspiciously sounds like a paint color, Rich Gray, playing bass, and Fabio Alessandri um, playing guitar, and then Eric Castiglia. I think I did okay there.
Yeah,
Does the lead vocals on that. So there's another player. We'll get to him in a future question. So we'll save that for now. Those are the main musicians on there. Um, so talk to us a little bit about Rich and Fabio and Eric because we've covered Wassim already.
yeah. Wasm did lead guitar, of course, but so the rhythm section on this song is actually the rhythm section of the band Annihilator. Metal fans will know them. They're a big Canadian band, been around since the 80s, Canadian thrash metal band. They're considered one of the biggest Canadian metal bands. Again, I keep interjecting Canadian just because I know they're very close to us, but record sales are measured differently in different countries. So they're a huge band in Canadian sales terms, but like if you were to compare them to like Metallica's sales, obviously not as big as that. But in Canadian sales, you'll oftentimes see them as like the Canadian Metallica in write-ups and things like that. So huge band, huge following, uh, and in Canada, basically Metallica. So I know those guys through another project that I can't talk about yet, but we will be talking about it soon. But let's just say we've recorded stuff together before. This is just the first one everybody else is hearing. And then Eric is actually a singer from Italy. He sings for an Italian metal band. He was really excited to do this, and he and I really hit it off, and we ended up doing another song together, which I put out on YouTube,
Yeah,
an
it
original song, not a cover.
yeah, it everybody, I mean, the Aztec death whistle overshadows everything, of course,
Right, obviously.
as it should.
As soon as you
But
hear it, you're like, is that Aztec death whistle? Holy shit.
more cowbell, more Aztec death whistle. So, but there everybody. I mean, the vocalist did an outstanding job, which kind of gets into my next question, which is, so this is certainly not a beat for beat recreation of Let's Go from Dimebag Darrell. However, of everything we've talked about so far, this is probably the one song that lines up the closest to the sound of the original. Not, like I said, not a carbon copy. There's still some uniqueness because I don't believe the Aztec Death Whistle was featured on Dimebag Darrell.
No.
I could be wrong. But I'm gonna guess no. But it is much more similar. And so for most of the other covers we've done so far or discussed so far, there was a pretty kind of significant departure one way or another, whether it was instrumentation or something becoming instrumental that had vocals before. There was a pretty significant. It was still recognizable, but there was a bigger step. There wasn't so much on this one. And had you considered as you were getting ready to do this, taking it another direction? Or had you always just said, we're going to stay kind of true to the spirit of it, but kind of add a little bit of our own panache, if you will, to it?
Now, the plan was always to stick pretty close to the original on this one. Because it's such a short song, I felt like any kind of a divergence would just mess up the flow of the song. And I wanted a really short song like this because eventually we'll collect all of these onto a proper album. We've been releasing them as singles and on YouTube and stuff like that, but eventually these will wind up on an album. So a short song can be used almost anywhere to just kind of break up the flow of something, especially if there's a couple of longer songs around it. So keeping it more or less the way it was always the plan.
Gotcha. What was your favorite part of recording this one?
I can tell you my least favorite part right
That'll
off
work.
the
That wasn't the
bat.
question, but if that's the question you want to answer, I'm flexible.
It's the main thing I remember about it was Wassim is a great guitar player, so it's not a critique of his guitar playing, but for whatever reason, when I was mixing this, it just would not come together. And I couldn't, it's me, but I could not get the guitars to line up correctly in the song. So I had to bring in a guest mixer for the guitars. And it was actually my friend Bill, who's in the Rust Belt with me. He jumped in, he really saved the song. So I have to give a lot of credit to him. So my favorite part of the song was Bill fixing it.
There you go.
That's because everything sounded great on its own, but for whatever reason, when I mixed it together, the guitars just did not fit properly into the song. So Bill stepped in and saved the day. So that was my favorite part of the song was Bill fixing it.
Gotcha. Okay, last question. So, I mean, clearly, this is the first time you've ever kind of utilized spoken word in any of your stuff. Oh, wait, let me check. No, actually, it's not. This is not the first time that you've used spoken word, but I expect it was still probably hard because you probably would hard to find. How are you going to find like someone that you work with either on doing a podcast or a YouTube show that can maybe help you with that, contribute to that spoken word part. And I imagine that had to be incredibly difficult for you to find, although you somehow managed to find it in previous albums fairly easily and had kind of established a what I thought was a trusting relationship there. But then somehow for this one here, Jimmy Mack, good friend of the show, awesome guy. Can't hold Mike's judgment against him here, but Jimmy handles some spoken word. Does a great job, by the way, at the beginning and end of this. Also, similar to the actual the song being covered, and he did a good job doing that. But I just are you okay with yourself having picked Jimmy to do this? I just want to mention, when I got done listening to this on YouTube, for 3 or 4 times, the song that came after it was from Session Re-Up. It's called Roll Deep, and let me tell you, there's some pretty good stuff on that. But you've chose to go another way clearly on this cover. You still okay with that decision? You know,
So the reason that I went with Jimmy over anyone else who would have been perfect
I don't know
for
who
this,
I don't know who that could be, but surely it could be someone else out there with some experience, a track record. But
Jim, Jimmy is a giant Pantera fan. So when he found out that I was covering the song, wanted to be involved in some way. The original song, they left in the beginning and the end, Dimebag talking to his engineer. So I figured I'd let him do that part, but he doesn't play on the song, so I reversed the role and made it sound like an engineer talking to the band, saying basically the same lines. And we did tweak one of them though, because it ends with Dimebag saying, "I'll drink to that." Jimmy doesn't drink; he's straight edge. So we changed it to "Even I drink to that" to fit Jimmy. But yeah, he's a huge Pantera fan. So that's the only reason.
yeah,
It was Jimmy over anyone else.
yeah, no, seems like you make choices. It's like those. No, but Jimmy did a great job. It was awesome, awesome, and particularly hearing he's a Pantera fan. That's awesome that he did it. But like I said, even though there's some deep personal hurt related to this song for me, I've been able to overcome that. And actually, like I said, so far of everything so far, I've really liked everything quite a bit so far. But this one so far is my favorite. So we will be
Nice.
including a link. It'll be you get at the end of the video here. You'll get a ability to jump on over and hear "Let's Go," the Pagans cover of Dimebag Darrell. So you should check that out. And also we have a playlist of the Pagan covers, the shows we've done so far, and you should go back and check a few of those out as well. So got a couple more to do. I think at least 2 more, maybe. Um,
Yeah, there's a couple more, and there's more coming. So
so
it's not ending.
so this will be as we kind of shoot once a month to cover different ones. So this was a fun one. This is great. You should definitely give it a listen, and then give it a like. And if you're in the liking mood, why don't you give this video a like and maybe a subscribe, and then watch the video a second time, and then watch some Hard No. It's the world's shortest podcast, over 1,000 episodes. Still won't take you that much time because they're all under a minute. So piece of cake. You can really round out your thinking in life by listening to Hard No.
You can even just put on the playlist and walk away. Those
Yeah,
views still count.
that's right. I think play all. You know, a funny feature of YouTube is that for I think it's every 100,000 person that hits play all on a playlist, YouTube sends them like $1,000. I don't know what it is, but you might give it some shots. You never know. I've heard that. I don't quote me, but
It's a rumor. It's a
many
rumor.
many many people have said to me that this is the case. So worth taking a look. Cool. Well, thanks as always, Mike. Appreciate it, and looking forward to talking about some more stuff later.
Bog Panda.